Welcome to the RPG Combat Toolkit tutorial series. I'm going to assume you've imported the toolkit into a fresh Unity 6 project, that URP is already set up, and that you imported TMP essentials if Unity asked for them. In this episode, we're going from an empty scene to a working turn-based battle. We'll use the built-in scene wizard to scaffold the scene, review the default settings and combat rules it loads for us, and then use the scene spawner to add two actors the stock way. By the end, you'll have a scene you can press play on and learn from. Start at the top of the Unity editor and open TBCS, then click Create New Scene. This is the fastest way to build a correct first combat scene because it scaffolds the runtime objects for you. For this tutorial, click Load 3D Defaults. That now fills in the stock camera, grid, cursor, Turn Manager settings, Bootstrap defaults, and the default 3D TBCS settings asset for us. We'll leave the grid at 10 by 10, leave the rest as is, and click Generate Scene. Here's the scene the wizard created. You now have Bootstrap, TBCSManager, and Turn Manager. Together they register services, launch combat, and run the turn order. You also have Spawner. That matters because in the stock startup flow, if you don't provide actors from custom code, TBCSManager looks for the scene spawner and uses that path to populate combat. Then you have Grid Manager, which owns the battlefield structure. Inside it, you'll find the generated grid setup, the cells, the objects container, the mask, and the wireframe tile map. If you select Grid Manager and toggle Show Grid Wireframe off, the checkerboard underlay disappears, but the gameplay grid still exists. The actual logic lives on the cells, not on the visual layer. Episode 2 goes into the grid system in full detail: cells, movement costs, vision blocking, and the scene view painting tools. For now, just note that this object is where the battlefield lives. You also get TBCS Cursor, TBCS Camera, and, by default, the Range Preview Overlay Helper for modern range ring previews. Now select Bootstrap. The wizard already assigned the default 3D settings asset for us. Click that asset reference to inspect it. This is where the combat rules and quality of life settings live. In the default settings asset, look at combat rules. The scene needs a combat rules asset so the system can calculate initiative, attacks, and damage. The default settings now come pre-configured, so for episode 1 we're reviewing that setup, rather than building it by hand. Later in the series, we'll swap and customize rule sets on purpose. But for now, this gives us a ready-to-run starting point. Back on Bootstrap, do a quick sanity check. The wizard defaults should already have settings, weapon provider, action factory asset, and health factory asset assigned. The two real blockers are settings and weapon provider. The action factory falls back to a built-in default, and the health factory is strongly recommended. We're leaving these defaults as the wizard set them. Now let's use the spawner. This is the standard workflow for a first scene. Define who enters combat and where they appear, then let the startup path handle the rest. Select Spawner. The inspector has two pieces to configure: the actors to spawn list at the top, which defines who enters combat, and the spawn points editor further down, which defines where on the grid they appear. You need both, and then link them together. Start with the actors to spawn list. Click the plus button twice to add two entries. Each entry represents one actor instantiated at scene startup. The fields that matter right now are name, prefab, and faction. Set the first entry's faction to friendly and assign a demo actor prefab. I'll use the Male Warrior from the Demo 1 Prefabs folder. The name fills in automatically from the prefab, but you can rename it. Set the second entry's faction to hostile and assign a hostile demo actor. I'll use the Orc Warrior. You'll also see an Eyes Player controlled toggle on by default. Leave it on for the friendly actor. Turn it off for the hostile one. That tells the system this actor should be driven by AI rather than player input. We'll cover AI in a later episode. The actor will still enter combat, it just won't take actions automatically. Now scroll down to the Spawn Points Editor section. This is where you place the actual spawn locations on the grid. Click Enable Edit. The button turns cyan to confirm the mode is active. While this mode is on, the scene view becomes an interactive spawn point painter. You'll see a Choose Faction selector and a size slider. Make sure Friendly is selected and click a cell on the player side of the grid. A yellow sphere gizmo appears. That's a friendly spawn zone. These gizmos are editor only. They disappear at runtime. Now select Hostile and click a cell on the opposite side. A red sphere marks the hostile zone. Click the wrong cell, hold Shift and click to remove it. When done, click Enable Edit again to exit paint mode. Now link the zones to the actors. Click Auto Assign Zones. The system matches each actor's faction and size to a matching zone. Scroll up. Each entry now shows a zone field filled with the right spawn zone. That link tells the spawner where to place each actor at runtime. If no zone is assigned, the system picks a random matching zone. Auto-assigning locks actors to specific locations, which is usually what you want. At this point, the scene is configured the stock way. The battlefield exists, Bootstrap is valid, and the spawner knows which actors enter combat and exactly where they appear. Now press play. The first thing to check is the console. What you want here is no red errors. If Bootstrap is missing its settings asset or weapon provider, this is where you'll know immediately. If the scene starts cleanly, the spawner creates both actors, the grid initializes, and the turn manager begins combat. You should see both actors in the scene and an active turn order starting up. At this point, you have a valid first combat scene running through the stock startup path. Bootstrap registers services. TBCSManager launches the scene. The spawner provides actors, and the turn manager starts combat. One more useful setting while you're learning. In the default settings asset, open the Debug section and enable Show Debug Logs. This lets the toolkit print much more detailed info in the console during play. Just remember that if you enable it now, the detailed logs will be most useful the next time you enter play mode. You can also filter the logs to only show what you need. Here's what you built: a working combat scene with a grid, Bootstrap, a spawner with 2 actors assigned to specific spawn zones, and a running turn order. You now know the first scene path. Run the wizard, review the settings asset, add actors to the spawner list, paint their spawn zones on the grid, link them with auto-assign zones, and press play. In Episode 2, we'll explore the grid system in detail, every cell, every property, and the scene view tools for shaping your battlefield. Then, in Episode 3, we build a complete actor from scratch.